All right, Lucha Libre. Have you done any Lucha Libre shows? Matches?
No. At AWS, I've done matches, but I don't know that I've actually ever done a Lucha show.
Yeah, because the referees are much... Have you been trained in that? Because I've seen some matches where there's like 2 referees and then there's different rules.
Yeah, it's completely different. The referee is, I think, just another character in the match.
Yeah, because I was at a show once and the referee, I think he was a rookie. I think they just throw anybody in there. And this guy clearly was counting to 10 in a no DQ, no count out match. And, and I'm like, wait a minute, unless Lucha is different, but I'm pretty sure there's no count. I mean, you said no count out, and he's going 9. I've also seen it where, like, it's a no DQ match, just a no DQ, and they're still counting or counting the count when they're on the ropes. Like 1, 2,
sometimes
3.
That happens just out of habit.
Yeah.
Excuse me, out of habit. So.
Yeah, I don't know. What's the hardest thing that you feel like is the hardest thing to do as a referee, besides concentrate, of course? But
I think it's just improvising, being in the moment and being ready for anything. You know what I mean? Just kind of being focused and being able to react. I unexpectedly got smacked in the back of the head, getting in between Jake Atlas and Haas Hogg at ground zero.
Yeah,
trying to separate the two.
You got 2 big boys right there.
So, just going down in a match and you're not expecting it.
Do you feel like some of the wrestlers try to, not mentioning names, but do you feel like they kind of like, because
he wants names.
No, you're a small, thin guy, small build, and maybe they want to pick on you a little bit, see you.
Sometimes,
yeah. Have you felt it?
Yeah. Some of the heels, they'll test and see how far they can get. That's why it's important. You got to stand your ground. Yeah. Sometimes that's the hardest thing about reffing too, is standing your ground against someone that's way bigger than you. But just knowing that you have the authority in the match, you just have to believe in that.
Let's say you're in a match in that situation. Have you had that situation also where like they kind of maybe a heel being too heelish, where he's not healing, he's more shooting on you?
You mean like cheating too much?
No, kind of like, let's say, have you ever been like intimidated to the point where you're telling, how they kind of get in your face, but you don't feel like they're playing the character really? They're really doing it out of anger?
No. I've had wrestlers be angry at me, but that usually waits until we get into the back, and they'll just be like, "What the heck?" But
you've had some pretty professional guys.
Yeah. I mean, and maybe it's happened, and I'm just not remembering it. Yeah, and I've just blacked it out of my memory.
I don't blame
forever. Because otherwise, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. Yeah. But for the most part. No.
That was at an AWS show.
You? At an AWS show?
Well, a few times I've made it a very special appearance. And was a referee in the ring. And I just think he was the whole match. Bless you.
Excuse me, I sneezed on the podcast.
And Cholo,
thank you, whoever's telling me bless you.
That was me. Cholo and B-Boy were kind of going off on the referee because he was just like, I guess, out of position, blowing spots. And so that's why I was asking you, have you ever been put in that spot where they're kind of...
I've gotten beaten up by Cholo and B-Boy. That's happened.
What did you do?
Nothing.
You just got in the wrong place, wrong time?
Exactly. I think they beat the crap out of Pee-Pee Ray, and I just went in to go check on him, and then I ate a boot to the head.
So you've had been hit with the belt.
Oh, gosh.
The championship. You got smacked by Haas.
By Haas, yeah. By Haas.
And you got beat up by, you're not the only one that's gotten beat up by B-Boy.
Oh, yeah?
Butcher's been beat up by a B-Boy, Mariachi, and Famous B. All in the same day.
Yeah, here.
Just for wearing a Hulk Hogan shirt.
Oh, man.
It was that day of Hulk Hogan, that whole controversial saying the N-word. And I was just, showing my tribute to Hogan. Everyone's human, makes mistakes. And I was just kind of showing favoritism. Next thing I know, I was just celebrating with Mariachi and Famous B and B-Boy.
So he thought he was celebrating.
And I did my little busted move, and next thing I know, I get Sexy Star on my head.
Now, look, you were at Santino, you started training there, and then you go to Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and you're at AWS, and you've done the Ring of Honor classes. I mean...
That's quite a little resume.
Yeah, that's quite a resume.
Within 4 years, that's not bad.
Yeah. How long after you started training did you get your first,
So I started training in August of 2013, and then I guess 6 months. So January 2014 is when I debuted, And then probably a few months after that, I did Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and just started to work some local shows.
Like, oh, look who's in the ring.
Yeah, it's funny. I was watching an old match of mine from there, and oh my gosh, I looked horrible. Like, my pants were too baggy, my shirt was too baggy, my shoes looked bad, my hair looked bad.
I thought you looked great.
Thank you,
with your little earpiece on.
Thank you.
You know how, I mean, doing TV and then doing like an AWS show, like Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and AWS, like you said, you have the little earpiece on, and the time, like you said, making sure people stay on time constraint. What's the difference, like when at AWS where you don't have the earpiece and then let's say they tell you like, well, this match needs to go 20 minutes tops. I mean, how do you?
They don't say that at AWS.
No, they just tell you let them do what they got to do.
You know, I don't think they really are as focused or more focused on letting the wrestlers just create their art.
Right.
You know, put on the greatest show that they can and let the wrestlers have the match. You know, the match that they want to have. They definitely get instruction. For how long they should go, but it's not as strict. So if they go a few minutes over, it's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Hey Bart, let's get some earpiece for these guys, all right?
Do you prefer the earpiece? I mean,
it's nice for television because it is like you want to get it within like 30 seconds.
Right.
Well, they have to put commercial breaks.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
If you don't get it, then you eat into a commercial, and that's eating into revenue for the show. Mm-hmm. But
I mean, see, that's interesting because there's a lot of people are listening to the podcast that don't really realize what a referee has to really go through, and then the difference between, like you said, an AWS show where maybe there is no time constraint, and well, at Championship Wrestling from Hollywood there is, you know, and that's I've always wondered, like, what are you getting instructed? Are you getting told time? Are you maybe getting told like, hey, spot change or
more like camera work there? If somebody has their back to the camera, tell them to turn around, look at the camera, work the camera.
Well, it's the same for ring announcers. Yeah. You know, ring announcers, they got to be focused right at the camera with their little earpiece because it's all about the timing with the music and everything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's so important to have the music cue right on time. Yeah. It's nothing worse than when you're waiting around for the music and you're like,
who's coming out? Or when they put the wrong music.
The wrong song, and you're like,
it still happens.
Happens, yeah.
It happens on the big show there.
Happens everywhere.
How about injury to a wrestler? Like, you know, how do you know? How do you know somebody's, like, if he's wrestling in a match and Butcher goes down, I know you guys usually go to, you know,
he'll probably say,
check on,
kick his ass.
Yeah, kick his ass. It's only Butcher.
Yeah, you know.
But I mean, how do you realize, like, okay, this guy's really out?
I really depend a lot on the wrestler. Mm-hmm. If it's like obvious that someone took a bad bump, then I'll obviously go check on them. Mm-hmm. But sometimes it can be the smallest thing, and you just step wrong, and then you've tweaked your ankle or your knee or something, and I've had it where a wrestler, I think, fell on her shoulder and couldn't continue. Right. So the other wrestler actually came up to me and said, go check on her because I think she's hurt. And I did, and she said, yeah, let's bring it home. Yeah. So then, you know, at that point, you just, all right, guys, we're bringing it home. Let's call a go-home spot.
Now, you've refereed for... is there a certain wrestler that you could say, like, oh, I've refereed? Like Earl Hebner, he was in every Hulk Hogan match. Mm-hmm. You know, is there a wrestler that you've refereed for a lot that you would know his style already and be like, oh, this guy, something's off with this performer?
Yeah, I think
pretty much wrestle. I mean, not wrestle. You ref for almost every talent in SoCal.
Yeah, I mean, like everybody in SoCal, but you know, a lot of the Santino guys, because I'll train with them too. Mm-hmm. So like Doug James or Brody King or Jake Atlas, Alonzo Alvarez, like all those guys. You know, I work with them a ton. I trained with them, so I have a comfort level working with them. And if they got hurt and they couldn't continue, they would tell me.
Yeah, but I'm saying, is there something that maybe you can see, like let's say Lucas Riley, you've had a couple of his matches, or Jake Atlas, and you've seen how he moves and he do these high flying moves and so on. And then, like, is there some way where you would be like, you know what, he doesn't look right to me, I'm gonna go check on him? Do you feel comfortable enough? Like, is there somebody like that you would know already, like Santino's?
Yeah,
students?
I mean, something I do a lot is just check on wrestlers during the match, and that's not even if they take a nasty bump. I'll just make sure, if there's a pause in the match, I'll just go check on them and make sure that they're okay. Because sometimes you don't really see them get hurt. Yeah. You get hurt on the littlest things, or like you get cut on the littlest things, and That even happens to me. Like, I'll touch a ring rope or something, and then next thing I know, I've got, like, blood on my hand. I'm like, where did this even come from? So, like, imagine doing that as a wrestler, and you're flying around the ring, taking bumps. You know, obviously, anything can happen.
Yeah. Butcher?
Well, I was going to go into commercial break right now.
Oh, yeah, let's give him a little
plug right now. So I know AWS this weekend, right?
AWS is this Saturday. They have it's like a metal wrestling show that starts at noon, and I think that
12 to 5.
Yeah, 12 to 5, and then at 7:30 the doors open for an 8 o'clock show at night. It'll be a great show. It always is.
And that's Jake Atlas first.
Jake Atlas versus Tyler Bateman for the heavyweight championship.
Mm-hmm. And then you have Evelise. She's going to be there in person as a meet and greet.
She's cute, so don't fall for any tricks.
All right, I'll keep
her,
my eyes out.
Tell her the wrestling guy has a crush on you, so I can't flirt with you. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so she will be there in person, and then she also has a matchup against Shotzi Blackheart.
Yeah.
Now, did you ever ref for Shotzi?
Yeah, I have.
Is she pretty wild in that ring? I mean, is she controllable, or is she just crazy?
Oh, I'd like to think that I keep it under control. I think she stays within the rules pretty well. But as far as her style, yeah, she's definitely all over the place. She's exciting.
Oh, no. She freaks me out with that helmet on with those little horns on. It's just crazy.
It's definitely kind of intimidating, but, I've got to do my job.
Well, door is at 7:30. Bell rings at 8 o'clock. So, again, that will be this Saturday. And be there, City of Southgate. I believe I have the address at American Legion Post 335 9535 California Avenue in the City of Southgate 90280. And if you want to know what state, California, not Arizona.
What's the farthest you've gone out? I mean, besides out of California?
New Jersey.
Oh, okay.
Wow, that's a big stretch.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not your first time there?
My first time there.
Oh,
yeah.
What match?
Yeah.
Who did you? What promotion?
I did CZW.
Okay.
So I did a tag match over there. It was fun. It was hardcore CZW rules, so it was pretty neat. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
How different is like a hardcore match for you to referee?
Oh, that crowd is nuts.
Was that the crowd that kept yelling, "You suck"?
No. Actually,
East Coasters are pretty wild in California.
They love their wrestling on the East Coast, man. You don't mess with those guys.
Yeah. I think they were just so excited for the show that they didn't boo me, and I was expecting them to boo me, and I was kind of disappointed.
Yeah. You just want to be the new Justin Borden, huh?
I get booed. Anyone that works at APW that's not Sparky Ballard gets booed. That's what I learned. I work for them.
Have you gone back to CCW or?
No, I was planning to go to the January show, but unfortunately it got canceled.
Okay.
I'm hoping to work there for the WrestleCon weekend in New Orleans. And if not, I'll be back sooner or later.
Have you done any of the freak show wrestling or not yet?
No, not yet.
Would you like to?
It seems like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I do the wrestling for wrestling. That's a lot of fun. It's just like all character work.
Brian Kendrick, he loves. For those that haven't been there, man, you guys got to check it out. I think the January show got postponed because of his injury, right?
Yeah. I'm not sure when their next show will be, but definitely check them out on Facebook.
Yeah, it's a completely different show. Serial Man, I know they've had Serial Man, they've had
They've got Ricotta Flair and Parm Anderson. It's one of those shows.
Is that the weirdest? Not in a bad way, but what's the weirdest show you've been a part of? Okay.
That's definitely the weirdest. I refed a Chinese takeout box. Chow mein Charlie.
Oh my god, there's so many of them.
I ran into him actually too.
Really?
Yeah. I was thrown across the ropes and tried to avoid him and just ran head on into him.
Now you have Justin Borden, Rick Knox. You have Marty Elias. I'm saying because of Lucha Underground, and those are probably the three most local wrestlers that are.
Oh, you forgot Rick Knox, right?
Yeah, I said Rick Knox.
Rick Knox.
Have you gotten advice from them? Gone up to them for advice, or have they pulled you aside and said, "Hey, kid, you gotta,"
Yeah, absolutely. I work with Rick and Justin all the time at AWS. I'm lucky to do that, and I work with Rick at PCW Ultra. So I'll ask them to watch my match if they're able to and critique. I think the biggest thing that I learned from them was coming closer on my falsies. You want to make those falsies really believable. You really want to build the emotion behind that and make the fans really believe the match is about to end. So when the wrestler kicks out at the last possible second, everyone goes, "Oh my gosh!" So just making sure that they look believable.